We're going to show you how to build a no-code marketplace using Stripe Connect. Can you build with Stripe Connect? Really, if you think about any marketplace, got a few examples here. Obviously, Gumroad is a very popular marketplace, and it's basically similar to the use case I show you in this video. It allows people sign up and start to sell any type of digital asset. So it allows you to sell podcasts, subscriptions, anything that is basically delivered as a digital asset. Gumroad brings buyers and sellers together, and it's a really great platform. Shopify, everybody knows Shopify these days. Shopify is obviously a really strong e-commerce platform, and the way Shopify works is it allows businesses to basically set up an own branded experience. Shopify provides all the infrastructure of your e-commerce store, and you just customize the look of your store. So it's a little bit different from the no-code marketplace use case we show in this video, in that when you're selling through Shopify as a business, your business webpage or your Shopify webpage is going to be customized, and it's going to look like to your customers that they are buying from a separate shop as opposed to buying from the Shopify platform. And so every business seller on the Shopify platform is going to have their own customized look and feel to their checkout process, to their branding on their web page, as opposed to it all being done like Gumroad or like the Creator Exchange, all under the one platform branding. And then another example that everybody knows is Airbnb. Airbnb, obviously the sellers on Airbnb are known as hosts. So Airbnb brings hosts, and it brings people looking for short-term stays or looking for holidays together. That effectively is Airbnb's model. Any type of marketplace you can think of, you can start to build out once you know how to use Stripe Connect. And I suppose the key thing for your build is planning out your build. What are you trying to achieve? What types of payments are you likely going to have? Are you going to have one-off payments? Are you going to have recurring payments? Is your marketplace going to be like Gumroad, where it all looks like it's the one platform with lots of different buyers selling through the same look and feel of the platform? Or is your marketplace going to be like Shopify, where each individual is going to be setting up a branded, bespoke store on the platform? When we look at Stripe Connect, I'll just jump in here to the documentation. There's actually 3 different types of Stripe Connect. And so I'll just give a little intro into Stripe Connect for people that are new to it, and where to start. So you've got 3 broad categories. You've standard, express, and custom. As a no-coder, you'll need to know broadly what these 3 things are and which one is the most suitable for your project. I'll put a link to this particular page in the description below, because it's really useful when you're trying to just get a very basic starting overview point on Stripe Connect. It has a very good comparison of the 3 types of Stripe Connect available. I would recommend that you just start with one of these types, and I'm actually probably going to steer you more so toward the standard type, on the basis that you'll see here integration effort is lowest. So the way I would almost read this table is standard is no code, express is no to low code, and custom, well, you're definitely into the coding category there. And the real difference between the 3 things is in each of these different headings. To give you a few examples here, Stripe does a lot of the onboarding, handling a lot of the infrastructure type under the standard type model. So it's really good for no coders or somebody who's really just trying to get an MVP going. In particular, it doesn't have the most amount of customization available that you would find in the custom type Connect, but it does mean that you can get it up running really quickly, and I'll show you how to do that now shortly. The other things is that it supports countries all over the world, and it does all of the onboarding type process for your sellers. If you're setting up a platform, it's probably the easiest, most out of the box version that you could use straight away. The biggest difference between the standard and the express versions is really the dashboard access that the sellers have when they set up a connected account. And when I say dashboard access, it means the actual Stripe dashboard that the user is able to sign into. So when setting up a Stripe account on a standard Stripe Connect marketplace, the seller is able to log into Stripe and see that dashboard, and the seller can see everything to do with their Stripe account. Whereas if there's an express account, the seller would only have certain particular capabilities in the Stripe dashboard. The idea being that the platform in this particular scenario has more control or has more visibility than the actual seller. So again, it comes down to what way you want to set up your market, and it might be worth having a read through the docs here and deciding, am I going to fall into standard or express? I'm going to focus on standard for the rest of this video. As I said, it's probably the one that's most geared towards no coders, as it has the lowest integration effort, and a lot of the heavy lifting is covered by Stripe. So you can be confident in your mind that security, payment handling, processing, dashboards, everything is going to be running at a very high standard, as it is a Stripe product. So to set up your Stripe Connect platform, which is the starting point for any marketplace, what you do is set up your Stripe account, head on over to stripe.com, sign up for a regular account. And when you have your account set up, you'll get a dashboard like this. And if you move on over to the bar here to connect, this is where you can kick off your Connect setup. And Stripe, I find, is great at documentation and instructions in general, and guiding you through exactly what information is needed. As mentioned earlier, we'll be looking at a standard Stripe Connect platform. We're looking to build one that is actually demonstrated in this diagram here, whereby we have a centralized platform that brings sellers, buyers together. And so in our use case that we show, it is the no-code creators selling digital no-code resources to other no-coders who themselves may also like to be no-code creators. So what can you build with Stripe Connect? This is the creator exchange. It's a no-code marketplace built entirely using no-code tools. A marketplace brings multiple buyers and multiple sellers together. And this is what the creator exchange does. It allows no-code creators sell their no-code digital assets, whether it's online training, consultancy, a discount for a no-code tool, an Airtable script, or any sort of digital asset for no-coders. Similar to a Gumroad type idea, individual no-code creators will have their own shop, and users can browse the various products supplied by the different creators. This web app is built entirely using my three favorite no-code tools. Software is the front end, Integromat is the logic or the API integrator, and then Airtable is the backend, the database, and it also powers some of the automations that are in this build. So before I got to this stage, I would have set up my Stripe Connect platform, and now it means it's ready to go for users to come to the website and now actually set up their own individual shops under the Creator Exchange platform. So I have this filled out. Hulk Hogan, he's an ex-wrestler. He's actually gotten big into the no-code space recently, and he's going to sign up for our platform. When I click sign up here, and next week, connect account, and that has brought us into our Stripe Connect onboarding process. And all this process is going to do is ask Hulk Hogan to enter in his business details, to enter in his bank account details, and complete the setup of the Stripe Connect account under the Creator Exchange platform. And you end up with a Stripe Connect account. Hulk Hogan's able to see all of the transactions, products, payments, customers, invoices, everything that's happened through the Creator Exchange. He's able to see it on his Stripe dashboard here. Oftentimes Stripe will ask you to actually validate your identity, and you might have to upload an ID type document and things like that. And it's only when the account is actually approved by Stripe that Hulk is going to be able to actually list products for sale on the Creator Exchange. Hulk's account got validated, it was set up, it's now ready to receive payments, and you're ready to create products. Okay, so Hulk Hogan, he's going to publish his first product. So he's going to click next, and it'll bring him to the customize screen. So that's brought him here, and it's got a lot of information that he can now fill in about his product, and all of this will be available on the product landing page for users that come to the web page and want to browse and see what it is exactly that they're getting when they buy this particular no-code asset or digital resource. Everything here is really optional. It can be updated later. So if Hulk just wants to get something up there as a sort of draft and then edit it later, that's also built into this particular marketplace app. So we've given it a title, we've given it a description, we've given it a summary of what you get. And, you know, ordinarily then, if this was a real product, you'd be attaching in, well, what content does your user actually get when they pay for the product? So you might have an Airtable embedded base that contains all of the information, or the base itself might actually be the product that they can then copy. You can put in a Loom video that gives an explainer or a walkthrough. You can attach in files, so whether it's a PDF document that you have outlining how it works, you can have a URL. So if you've got your product hosted elsewhere and you want to keep it off the platform, you can put your URL there and just provide some instructions here as to how to actually access the product. You then have an option to publish the product at the end here, and if you don't tick that and you hit save, you can continue to edit the product, and then you can hit publish later, and it will only go live under this buy tab here once you hit the publish button. So a lot of this functionality, this is all probably specific to software. And again, we'll show you the software layout toward the end of the video when we give you a detailed view, I suppose, at the back end of this project. And if we hit save, I think I'll publish this one just so it's live immediately. And if we hit save, hopefully this will work. So Hulk Hogan now has his first asset up for sale. There it is there. This is Hulk Hogan's view of the world products I sell. It shows you his course. He's able to edit it if needs be using this button up here in the top right. And it shows that it's live. So he knows that that's not in draft and that it's actually showing on the main web page, right? So now that that's up and running, what I want to show you is what it looks like when a brand new user comes along. They've never heard of Creator Exchange, but they've certainly heard of Hulk Hogan's wrestling meetup event course, and they want to sign up for it. So how does that work? Well, let me just sign out as Hulk Hogan. And now it looks, so this is what the web page looks like to a brand new user. If I go into meet the creators, there's probably only 2 creators. Well, there's a few of them here at the moment. So there's Hulk Hogan, a couple of Hulk Hogans. I was obviously doing a dummy run earlier, and then myself there. So if we go into buy their work, this is where all of the assets are listed, and you'll see there's Hulk's one, and there's the 3 ones that we saw earlier in the video. So this particular user wants to buy Hulk's course. This is the only thing he cares about on the site. So he's going to go buy now. Okay, so this is the checkout screen. If you're familiar with my channel, this will look familiar from earlier tutorials. We're going to be using a slightly different, that when the user checks out, it's going to create a dynamic, automatically generated email and send it to the user as a way to validate the email address they have input. It's going these details, it's going to pass it through an Integromat flow, create the Stripe customer in the connected account. So in Hulk Hogan's Stripe connected account, as opposed to a customer of Creator Exchange, this is a direct customer of Hulk in this marketplace. And so the customer is actually going to get an invoice to be paid from Hulk Hogan's shop. And when the customer pays for that, it's going to be paid out to Hulk Hogan through Stripe. So this is the power really of Stripe Connect, is that it's like a Gumroad or anything like that, whereby you've lots of different sellers with their stores all on the same platform, and they can sell their various different products, and it's all done through the same look and feel of a platform. And so we'll just fill this out and complete it, and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so the moment of truth, then we'll hit the proceed button, and hopefully this will trigger an automated email to the buyer with next steps. So the Rock got his dynamically created link for him to log in and actually complete his purchase. Here's the product in the Rock's orders, and it's not yet paid for. So currently the Rock is not actually able to access this course, and Hulk Hogan is still hiding all of his proprietary data in behind a paywall effectively. And so what happened when we clicked submit on the last part is actually in the background, an Integromat flow has created this dynamically created Stripe invoice page that is going to act for all intents and purposes as a checkout page. And so it's only when that is paid that a webhook is going to be triggered from Hulk Hogan's Stripe Connect account. And the webhook is going to issue to Airtable, and it's going to then update the Rock's profile to say that he now has access to this particular product. I might have to block out some of the actual payment details, but I'll show you here the actual dynamically hosted invoice page being created. And you'll see here that it's an invoice to the Rock. You can download a copy of the invoice. All of this is customizable inside a Stripe. So it's really nice. You can customize it for any of the businesses that are selling through the marketplace. And I'll just put in these details here now, and I'll just pause the screen for a little while, and I'll show you then what happens after the actual thing is paid for. So that payment's gone through. The Hulk will get his first payout from the Creator Exchange platform, and the Rock will be able to return to his orders here. And if we scroll down now, you will see, if we just move myself out of the way, you'll see that the files are now available. There's now a button here, and it's available to be clicked, and it's showing that it's paid. So now every time the Rock logs in, he's able to come into his order screen here, and anything that he's bought, he'll be able to access through his My Orders panel here. And so if he clicks Get Files there, this will bring him into the page that he can only see, and that only people that have purchased this product are able to see. And this is all the information that Hulk would have put in for his customers. So this is basically his digital product, and all of this is customizable as we looked at earlier. And so he's got a step-by-step Loom video there. He's got an embedded Airtable Base that has a few more instructions for the user to look at. And if we scroll down further, there's a copy of the actual invoice that this particular user, so that the Rock paid for, it's attached into the dashboard there. So really, it's quite an effective way to get digital products sold, and it's a great use case, I suppose, to demonstrate the power of Stripe Connect and what type of marketplace you're able to build out using no-code tools. Stripe is actually going to do an evaluation of your business or your marketplace plan, and it's going to steer you in terms of what settings and what type of Stripe Connect account you should be going for. So if you click this and hit continue, it'll bring you to the next stage. And so once you've done that part, it brings you to this screen and you have your checklist here of what you have to do to complete the setup. And this is the part to complete your platform profile, that it'll ask you all the questions in terms of what type of platform are you building, like we spoke about earlier. Are you building one whereby it's like Shopify, where customers think that they're buying from that individual seller's store only? Or is it more like Gumroad, whereby the customer thinks that they're buying from a seller on Gumroad? Have a quick glance in here and hit start. So on this first screen of setting up your Connect platform, this really gives you the full menu or suite of different types of marketplaces that you can really build with Stripe Connect. It shows you the really broad range. I've only touched on 3 examples earlier, but you can see really here lots of other examples and how powerful this tool is and the different types of apps that Stripe Connect enables. In our use case, it's probably most likely or most relevant one is this one here, being e-commerce products. So I'm going to tick that and click continue. Where do customers purchase products or services? For the creator exchanges from the platform's website, similar to Gumroad. Next one, whose name is listed with the transaction on a customer's credit card statement? So we're going to say that it's going to be a combination of both the platform and the sellers. But again, this comes all down to your own personal preference. Fill it out what way suits you in terms of what type of marketplace you're trying to achieve. Who should customers contact if they have a dispute or a complaint? In this scenario, we're going to say the seller service provider using your platform, and we'll click connect or continue. Describe how a customer purchases a product or service using your platform. You can just type in a description here. Okay, continue. Do your users directly accept card or ACH payment from customers? We'll say yes. Continue. When purchasing a product or service, who does the customer think they are purchasing from? The seller, in our case, because in our case, they're buying it directly from the no-code creator. And then review your responses, and at the end of that you hit submit. Okay, and now it's already done the evaluation and it's told me that standard is in fact the recommended approach. If you are a no coder and you're not comfortable with low code or anything else, I would probably try and build out your marketplace so that it fits into the standard mold, at least at a starting point, as you get comfortable with the Stripe Connect ecosystem and with the various APIs and using Integromat or Zapier with Stripe. And it's from that point on, then as you get more confident, you might look at an Express account or possibly even down the line, maybe even a custom. But custom, from what I can see, is definitely a coder's realm still, and it is not quite bridged yet for the no coders. So obviously with a marketplace, the way you as the marketplace creator makes its money is that you earn what's called a charge, and you'll set that at the design stage of your platform. So for example, when you look at Gumroad's fees, what they do is they take a certain percentage of revenues, and it obviously scales down based on the level of turnover, and they also have a transactional charge, and there may also be fees associated with the payment provider. And so similarly, your platform, it's have a think about your business model and your pricing model, whether you want to just have a flat deduction. And the important thing is that it works for you and it works for your sellers. Also bearing in mind that the sellers will also incur a Stripe fee, as will anybody who sells anything with Stripe take a transactional fee from the payment. So that's probably this stage, and we will click through to standard. It just brings us into the docs, and now this is the next part of our setup. So then we come back over to the Stripe dashboard, and the last thing you're going to probably want to do for setup and while you're actually building out your app is switch into test mode and add your business details to activate your account. I won't do this part. It's fairly straightforward. You just go in and fill out your details, and these will go green, check, and now you are ready to start creating API calls. And the way, if you're not familiar with an API call is basically a way to communicate with Stripe using the likes of Integromat or Zapier if you don't know how to code. I would use Integromat or Zapier if you're not a coder. It just simplifies this API process, and I will show you the Integromat flows to use a standard Stripe Connect account now. Now that we have our standard Stripe Connect platform set up under our Stripe profile, all we need to do next is convert or digest this particular page using Connect with standard accounts and effectively try and translate these API documentation / instructions and try and translate them into a no code version. And by that, trying to follow the instructions here to translate this into an Integromat flow. Integromat is my preferred tool of choice for something like this, though you will be able to do this using something like Zapier or some other visual API type tool. So we're going to go through the steps, and if we just jump into Integromat, this is the flow. And what this flow is going to do is we've already done the create a standard account. So what we want to do is this part, create an account link. And what an account link is basically where a user or a seller on your platform is now setting up a linked account or a connected account under your marketplace platform. So the way to read this is the address that you send your API call to. We won't get too techy here, but just so that you understand what this looks like, and we will be converting this into Integromat modules in just a second. So if you take nothing else from this, copy exactly what I do here. But if you do want to try and know more about how to read these documents so that you can start to create your own Integromat type flows, this is the way I go about it. I look at the URL, that's going to be key, particularly the part after the / there. So V1 linked accounts, that's the part that's going to be relevant for my Integromat module. I'll show you that now in a second. You always will need a secret API key code. Your secret code is like a password, particularly for something like a Stripe Connect marketplace. It's really sensitive. I wouldn't show it to anybody. I wouldn't put it in any screen recordings. This thankfully is a test API key, and so that's not my real API key. And all you will need to do in Integromat is set up your Stripe Connect connection once, and when you go to set it up, it will ask you for your secret API key from Stripe, and I'll show you where to get that in just a second. Then what you'll be asked to pass in is which customer account is actually being linked to your Stripe account. And so that's going to be dynamically generated in our flow here, and I'll show you that in a second. Before you can link an account to your Stripe Connect platform, the actual seller that is being linked to your platform needs to actually have a Stripe account code first. So that's the first step, or the first module here, is actually creating that customer code. And then these refresh and return URLs are URLs that Stripe needs to know where to send a user in certain situations. So for this example, I'm just going to put in my homepage URL. So if the user moves away from the seller onboarding screen, they will be just diverted back to the home page. And then type equals account onboarding. Okay, so we will be using that as our primary guidance. And if we come into our flow, so the starting point for this flow, you might remember from the example, is this section here. So the user has already signed up. They've signed up to become a creator or a host or whatever the name of your seller is on your marketplace. And now they're faced with the step of actually connecting their Stripe account to the platform. And so once that's clicked, it's going to trigger this webhook over here in Integromat, and it is then going to create the account ID, which is this part that's needed. This user is a new user on the platform, and so they are going to need to create a new Stripe account ID to be linked to your Stripe marketplace platform. And if we look at this and open up this module here, there's that V1/account. So effectively what that is doing is it's taking from this part here, create a standard account and pre-fill information. It's taking this part of this API URL and it is filling it in here as the URL. you'll see here I've pre-configured my no-code Stripe connection. And that's where when you click add here and it asks you to add in your secret API key. And then once that's done, it's connected to the Stripe Connect platform that you just set up. And the method is post because you're putting information into Stripe, and you need this in the headers. And if we look at back to the actual API doc, the last thing we need is the type is standard, which is coming from here, type equals standard. And that is one of the query strings. And then the email, we need to pass which member email is it. And that email comes from the logged in user being passed from this software form button effectively. That is essentially module 1. We then move into module 2. And so now we're on to step 2 of our API doc here, create an account link. And so it is actually taking some of the outputs from the first module and slotting them in. So v1/account links, again, method is post because we're putting information into Stripe. Content type, that's standard, so you can copy that information there. And then you've got account and its body ID. So it's actually taking the output from this module being the Stripe account ID that's just been created. So that's this part here, account ID. And then here's our refresh and return URLs. You can customize those for your app. So it might be your homepage, or it might be a page saying, hi there, please return to the Stripe onboarding process with a link. And then type account onboarding that has come from the docs. And that is effectively it in terms of the 2 Stripe modules needed. And this is a good no-code way to really minimize the coding. It's just knowing where to put the pieces of data into these modules inside of Integromat. And then the last thing in my flow, this is specific to my build, is obviously I'm looking to update Airtable. And so the updates to Airtable that I'm doing is I'm finding the particular member who is now connecting their account, and all I'm updating is I'm changing their member type to WIP. And the reason I'm doing that is because you might remember earlier when we jumped into this screen, when this account is now has been set up, or when they've gone through this process, they now have WIP as their account type, and in Softer they have different visibility settings based on having an account type of WIP. And so this being the home screen, they will see a different screen. They will be able to now list free products, and they will see step 2 being being the other part of the next stage. What is step 2 again? Oh yeah. And they'll see step 2, which is whereby they're being instructed to log into their Stripe dashboard with their newly created Stripe Connect account. And they're being asked to just validate and complete the setup process so that they now have a fully functional Stripe account that can accept payments, that has been validated, the ID has been validated. And then once that's done, again, the member type inside of my Airtable base will update now to creator. And once they have creator designation, they have full access to do everything inside of the portal here in terms of listing products for sale, editing their products, publishing products like you saw in the example earlier. And then the last part of the flow is a webhook response. So these are great. You might have seen me using webhook responses in an earlier Stripe tutorial. It was the part 2 of how to build out an e-commerce store with cart and functionality. And so this is just a simple redirect, and it's using the body URL from which module is that coming from? It's coming from module 4 there, and it's pulling the body URL, which is going to your Stripe Connect seller onboarding process that brings them through the various steps of setting up their account. Okay, that is how you allow users to effectively create Stripe accounts under your Stripe Connect account. And I'm in my profile here now, and you can see I have 2 live enabled Stripe Connect sellers under the Creator Exchange Connect platform. And you'll see here, these still need identity docs. So I still need to submit identity docs for these ones, but it's allowing them to transact in the meantime. And you can start to log into your platform and monitor the various connected accounts that are being registered and linked to your platform. All right. Okay, so I mentioned earlier about needing to find your secret API key. I'm in live mode here, so I won't be clicking in here, but you go into developers in your Stripe dashboard and you click API keys and you'll find your secret publishable API key in there. And that's the one that you plug into your Stripe connection when you're setting it up for the first time. You'll only need to do that once, and then every time you use a Stripe module, it will allow you to use your Stripe connected account. And if we go back to the Stripe dashboard, the other thing I want to show you in here is the actual webhooks back to Airtable, seeing as how I'm using my Airtable Base to coordinate effectively the server side of this flow. And so there's two key webhooks that you're going to want to set up in Airtable, and they are connect type webhooks. So if you're not familiar with how to set up webhooks in Airtable, we'll jump into the base here for a second. And if we open up automations, I have two Stripe webhook automations set up. One is so that when a new linked account is created, that it updates that in the actual base here to tell Airtable when the actual account is fully up and running. And if we scroll across here, you'll see the Stripe account status being set to true there. I have it set up so that only sets to true when the account is actually operational and fully active. And I'll show you how that works in a second. So you come into the automations here in Airtable, you open up your automations, you create a new automation. It's going to be when a webhook is received. That's going to generate the actual webhook URL for you. You come back over into Stripe and you add endpoint here. The two key endpoints for these ones is the first webhook URL. The endpoint you're going to want to choose is this one, invoice.paid. And then the second one is, when we go into it, is account.updated. So the account.updated one is the one that I just showed you in Airtable there, whereby it's going to send you a ping, or it's going to tell Airtable whenever a new Stripe Connect account is actually updated and is now active and operational. And that's obviously key for then further on flows inside of your software built web app in terms of visibility settings and what the user can do inside of your software app. So if we come back into here, and so effectively what we're going to do is when the webhook comes in, it's going to send a huge amount of data with it. And that's just standard from Stripe. It sends every piece of data, and then you can use that data that is received. So where email is, and it's actually pulling the email address from the Stripe account that is being sent across from the webhook. And then it's asking Airtable to update that particular member's record with the details submitted, currently due, payouts enabled, and the Stripe account ID. And so that's going to basically let me know, or let my app know, that this account is now enabled. And is there verification still needed? Are payouts enabled? And if so, then change the status of that particular member or that member type to creator, and now they have a full-blown activated functioning account. And if we just jump back out for a second into the other one, Stripe webhook invoice paid. So obviously it's very key for all of your sellers to be updated in real time in the app, not having to log into Stripe the entire time, but actually in the app itself, to know when any invoice has been paid by their customer. And so this is doing something similar. You saw the endpoint being added, being the invoice.paid endpoint in here. And to add an endpoint, you just simply go add endpoint. You put in your Airtable generated webhook that you're going to get from this trigger here, and you come back into Stripe. Then you put your Airtable webhook in here. Give yourself a description so that when you're looking at this in a couple of months' time, you know what this webhook is doing. And if I just get myself out of the way again, I always check that box, listen to events on connected accounts. That's really important for Stripe Connect. And it just means that this is going to work for all of your connected sellers accounts as well, not just for the primary account. And then you just hit add endpoint, and it basically, that's what I did to create these two here. And when we come back in here to look at the rest of the Airtable automation, so again, it's doing something very similar. It's finding in the orders table, it's finding where the Stripe invoice ID is whatever invoice Stripe is now telling Airtable has just been paid. And then we are updating that particular order with Stripe invoice status of paid. And we now know that's the trigger point. You might remember from the example earlier whereby it was showing as not paid on the actual app itself. We weren't able to access the content. So it's only when it's paid and this flows through into your Airtable base on the orders table that your software built web app knows, okay, that's now paid. And now I can show the actual digital product that user is buying. And finally, we'll give you a quick run over of the actual Airtable base itself. It's quite a simple base. There's just 4 tables, one being members, and this is where you're going to record all of your members. So whether they're customers, whether they're creators, whether they are work in progress creators, they're all going to be recorded in this table as they're all members. And this is where all of the information regarding their profile, regarding their Stripe account status and their member type is going to be in here. I wouldn't worry about needing to see every field in here because I'm going to make this tutorial, all the resources for it, I'm going to make it available on the Creator Exchange. So there's a link for that down in the description section below. So if you do want to dive into this, or if you want to replicate the Creator Exchange and you want to build out a marketplace like that, there's a much more detailed resources so you can follow along even further if you've missed anything, or if I haven't covered something properly in this tutorial. I'll have the base embedded. I'll have Loom walkthroughs for the various Integromat flows that are needed. And I'm available if anybody has any questions, and please leave comments in the comment section below. If you did enjoy the video, would appreciate that you subscribe to the channel, and please like the video, and don't be afraid to share it around. It really helps my channel grow, and it really motivates me to continue to create content and projects like this. So the key to getting your marketplace working is this connections table here. This is effectively a junction table, but it's a junction table between just members within the members table. So it's just connecting sellers and buyers. And the reason this junction table is needed is so that you can start to record all of the different relationships that are happening inside of your marketplace. And that's important because you could be a customer of multiple different sellers on the platform, and you're going to have a different customer Stripe ID depending on which seller you're buying from. And so that'll make way more sense if you dive into the detail on this. But I just said I'd show you this quickly to see, you can see it. This is the key to the Airtable aspect of this project. And again, it's simple in terms of layout, but it's just getting your head around a junction table and why it needs to be done that way. And it's a marketplace. It's not just a straightforward e-commerce store where there's just one seller and one buyer. And there's multiple parties. So it's just creating that relationship. And this is all done through the software built web app. So again, I'll be making the Creator Exchange template available on the software template marketplace. And as I mentioned, all of these, this base and all of the Integromat flows used in this project, I'll make available on the Creator Exchange as well.